Yeah, okay, all right.
Yes, we are recording. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for dropping in or watching like we always do here. Today we have Tawfik, that's how I pronounce it, right?
Yeah, correct,
From
correct.
the incredible label Zombidanz from Belgium. I'm going to do this away. There we go. Yeah, thank you for doing this. I've been playing with the idea for a while. I was going to ask you before summer because we have been talking a bit here and there, especially about your records and getting your records.
Yeah.
But then the interview with Nuclear War Now came out, and it just got put on the back burner for me because I wasn't sure where to go after that.
Okay.
But because it was just about Zombidanz #3, the book, I thought, well, there's enough to delve in or to flesh out for this interview or talk, whatever you want to call it. So yeah, thanks for doing this.
Thank you.
Zombidanz is not a very old label. You started in 2016. You have, if I'm not mistaken, 24 releases spanning all formats. There's a CD, there's 7 inches to vinyl. There are 3 zines, including a mini zine, and then the big book that we are definitely going to talk about a little bit later. It is still called a magazine, but for all intents and purposes, it's it went out of hand a bit, I think.
Sort of.
We'll get there. What else have I written down? Yeah, it seems like a label that has nothing to prove anymore. I've written down in the notes, and I know there's a lot more to come. But what I mean with that is that, yeah, it feels like it's respected all around the world by enemies and allies alike. Do you feel that you are secure? That you have secured your place within modern black metal? It's not modern what you do, but if you know what I mean.
Yeah, I know what you mean, and it's actually interesting because yeah, it's been going on indeed for something like 7 or 8 years or something, and indeed we've never been a big selling labels. I mean, we don't have any big hits. There's not much I need to repress. I do one pressing, and then it usually lasts for at least a few years. But interestingly enough, I have new people getting to know the labels over the years and then coming back through our catalogs and then saying, oh, this looks good. And there's sort of a big fidelity around the label as a landmark or as something you can rely on. But we're not really nothing big selling, and then when I put out a release, I'm not selling hundreds and hundreds of copies. So it's still very underground, but somehow we stick with very niche sort of people and listeners, and that was sort of what I was aiming for actually, because you have so many people coming and going and putting out something that's just trending for whatever reason. Things can trend nowadays. So many factors, but I think. I feel like I can. People seems to be able to trust me, and they say, okay, this will last for a long time, and this release will come when they come, and there's sort of something that I managed to establish, that there's a. It was either I got a cult following or a very strong following, or no status at all, and somehow I got that, which means I will keep that pace. I'm not growing. I mean, it's been a long years that I've been doing that, and I'm not any bigger than 7 years ago. I don't have quite a bigger budget. It's still one release at a time when I manage, and actually that's fine by me because I'm not trying to make money out of it. I have a job. I don't need that for it's not a business. So it's really, if I manage to get my money back on releases, of course it's nice. Of course it's it's better not to lose money in any case. But so far I like the way things have been going, and I'll try to keep it up. Actually, I like to have that sort of in between status, not a big hit, but something you can rely on, and you look it up when you want to see if something fresh has happened, and it has the fan base has grown up exactly that way. I'm still selling the people I was selling the first tapes or the first CDs. I'm still selling them the new LPs, and people are adding up slowly and slowly. So that's a nice feeling actually.
Yeah, only new people, nobody's going. That's a good thing actually. That's how you start. I think the way you do it is actually a good thing, not to bombard people with releases, because there are so many labels these days that it's impossible to follow, especially when you're a vinyl hoarder like me, it's quite impossible task to keep up. So I think the steady release. I think we are, let's say, halfway to the year. You now have 1, 2, maybe 5 releases this year. I think something like that.
Which is a lot actually.
That is a lot.
Already a lot actually. Yeah. And you're right. There's so many stuff going on these days. It's quite overwhelming. And I seem to recall like 10 or 12 years ago, something like that, I was sort of aware of everything that was going out. I think, you know, when an LP came out, I was aware of it. I could tell you, okay, this label is putting out this, and this label is putting out that, and you had like 10 release a month or something like that, and you were aware of it. Of course, you can't buy it all, but today, if I browse through the new items of Iron Bonehead front page, there's just it's refreshed every day, and there's just so many that flies by me. So I think it's cool that you can rely on a label and say, okay, this I can follow, I trust it, and it will release slowly, good releases, and quality over quantity, and that's fine. I think it's a good remedy for the release fever that we're experiencing right now.
Yeah, I think that's the only way to do it, because you see a lot of people, like you said earlier, they gallop themselves into obscurity just because, let's say, everything sells. It's a good thing, but not everything sells. So you keep having backlog, and you kind of blow up yourself or the label. You started like 2016, but it wasn't a label. I think we have to. I mean, I know how it went. You know how it went. For the viewers, we have to pretend that we don't know how the story goes. So you started as a zine. Zombidanz 1 was in fact just a zine.
Yeah, it was a very simple magazine, which a very fanzine or magazine, however you would like to call it. Definitely fanzine for the first one, because it was just a fan release made by a fan, destined for fans. And basically, I started asking questions to bands because I wanted to have answers for myself. So I contacted Sadistic Execution because they were very obscure back then. It was like 12 years ago, something like that, and they were not present on the internet. There was not so many database that you could check them out, and I was very curious. So I got in touch with the bands. I gathered interviews, and it took quite a while before I managed to lay everything out, because I was very bad back then. I was a teenager, and I was very bad at graphic design. I didn't know anything about that. It was really not my domain of expertise. But then at some point I met with my actual girlfriend, and she was excellent at everything connected to Photoshop and Adobe and all that stuff to lay out and edit. Yeah. And then so I said, okay, I have a bunch of interviews. Maybe you can draw a bunch of borders, and we put them together, and then we print them and see what happens. And that's how we created the first fanzine. And I was very eager to have the best lineup. So it has a lot of the interviews are not so great anymore. I believe I can do much better today. But I wanted people to look at the lineup and say, wow, this band, Archgoat, Bulldozer, Poison, Holocaust. So it had to really be something, as like you would see on a good compilation of bands. I always like lists of good bands, and when it's all gathered together. Only in a fanzine you can gather Holocausto and Ungod and bands like that together. So I thought it was nice. I thought it was a nice idea.
I look at the fanzines and the cover, and if I look at it as if it was a festival, and if I want to go to the festival that they present, I'll buy this thing.
Yeah, that's a good spirit. Yeah, it's a nice way of putting it. Definitely.
You have, because I've written it down in the notes too, because it's so eye-catching and yet so weird for black metal. The logo, the Zombidanz logo, especially the mirror ball. Is there a story behind it, or is it just what came out?
Actually, the name Zombidanz is coming from the band Poison, which you have a very nice shirt of, actually, and on the compilation that was released by Iron Pegasus, I think in the 2000s, they added a bunch of rehearsals, and one of the songs is called Zombidanz. And I thought the name was really catchy, was really nice, and the song is actually one of the catchiest from the demo days. So I decided to call it Zombidanz, and I actually had a first logo that was written with CE, zombie with an E, and dance like a dance. It was done by the logo was done by a guy from Montenegro that was doing a lot of artwork back then, and he made the logo. And then I met with my girlfriend, and she did the whole magazine, the whole layouts, all the borders. And then I said, I have a logo ready, and she said, well, I might as well actually do a new logo. And I guess since she's actually not really a metal fan, I mean, she can tolerate things like Judas Priest and stuffs like that. She has the soul of a rocker, definitely, but not really nothing like bestial summoning or grindcore or anything that harsh, which I understand. And she I guess she heard dance. She had no idea, of course, about the Poison song. No one knows that song actually. It's very obscure. And she said, "Okay, dance. I will put a mirror ball." And I thought it looked cool. I thought it looked different. Okay. And it's different is what I always aim for. So I thought it was nice.
It's as simple as that.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. So the from Zine, I don't have Zine 1 because it's quite hard to find lately. Sorry.
Yeah, indeed. I think it's been sold out for a while. I think so. Yeah.
Yeah. The step from 1 to 2 is quite a jump up because the second one is this one.
Yeah.
It also has a mini zine with a French trash, which is not the precursor to book number 3, but you can feel that there is something brewing there. So there's the step from 1 to 2 is quite big. The step from 2 to 3 is enormous. So when did you decide to, because the work that creeps into zine making alone is where it's a full-time job, when did you decide to, or is it very organic that you started the label up actually?
Yeah, actually from 1 was done when I was still a student. So when you are a student, you have so much time, which you don't realize by that time, but you have so much time. So by then it was easy for us. When we did the second one, actually, the thing is that my girlfriend and myself, we went on through our job and careers to really get into more graphic design. So definitely Annie, my girlfriend, really was heavily into graphic design for her job, for her career. So it was like a daily thing for her. And for myself, I started to do it more and more. So it was really much easier for us. So things were definitely going faster and faster. We were working by then. Somehow I was doing a very boring job where I had a lot of time on my hands. So this is how I managed to reach out to all the bands, do the interviews, do the whole process.
Yes.
And it was already an upgrade indeed. And it's something I always reflected on, because I like the rough style of zines. I really like when something is dirty and it's cut and paste and it looks crazy, chaos. This is something I really like. But I mean, through life, we had to learn the modern way of doing graphics, which is through a computer, which is something that came to us like as an obligation when you work in that sort of business area. You have to learn. And I wanted it to be still quite intuitive. So we did it as we know. And we knew a bit better than most of the chaotic zines and things like that. So that's why it looks a bit more professional, I think. This one is, indeed. We tried a few things. We tried, of course, to keep it harsh looking and a bit dirty, but you can still see that the ones who laid that out, they knew what they were doing. Yeah, a lot of that. I drew that actually. It's awful, just awful the right way.
I don't think so. It works good. Yeah, you say that, but it's what this has, what others don't have. When you say the chaotic scenes, that this is easy to read. I mean,
nice.
A chaotic scene is cool and it's kind of an artifact. This is also an artifact. Not that I want to diminish it or take anything away with it, but it has that book feeling that you are obviously working towards. So yeah, that's the zine part. The label part comes in around the same time, I think, or between 1 and 2.
Yeah, between 1 and 2, because I think the 7-inch that came with the fanzine is like number 3 in our release, or 4 or something like that. So it was like 1 year before that. Actually, I was trading songs with a guy from Brazil, a guy who plays in Behemoth, the bass player of Behemoth, the Brazilian one, and he sent me a bunch of crazy songs on a CDR, and I sent him the first magazine, and he sent me this as a trade, and it had so many good stuff on it. Lots of not even on Metal Archives kind of stuff. The stuff was so obscure. I was really fascinated by it. And yeah, I discussed it with the guy from Perverted Ceremony from the Belgian scene back then, who was a good friend of mine. And he said, well, you should maybe release it and put it on vinyl. Why not? And I said, yeah, sure. And back then there was the big thing back then. I'm not sure it has changed actually, but I think a little bit. It was like these die-hard vinyls, which was something that Nuclear Warno sort of came up with, and everything was like a nice package, big package, and very widely spread. And I was beginning to collect more and more, and I was a bit fascinated by those private press, which was something you would only share with a few people, and so we did some of the songs that I got from the Brazilian guys, so from the band Offertori, which was one of their very early projects, really inspired by Blasphemy, Blood Upon the Altar. Really very good stuff. And I decided to put it on a 7-inch, and so I reached out to this Italian press that was doing lathe cuts, so it's very poor quality. So lathe cut was, I mean, you do them one by one with a very rough needle that is actually engraving the grooves one by one. So it's a bit of a it's a nice artifact. I pressed, I think, 25 copies, which I gave away to friends. I intend to re-release it someday on a proper, on a wider scale. I think that would be nice. And then things sort of flew naturally. Then I released the Necrodeus guys contacted me, and then I put out a 7-inch with the magazine. And then there were a few tapes that I really liked, like the first CD we did, Void of Naxir, and I said, this is so good. It has so much stuff to show. I had plenty of pictures, and no one knows about it. So I said, okay, I will put it out and I will spread it and see what happens.
That was the Italian band, right?
That was the Italian band, yeah, exactly. Yeah. They were called Apsu, and then Void of Naxir, because the American Apsu contacted them and said, yeah, you need to change name, yes.
Yeah, even when you look it up, the tape, even the logo is a bit, I don't say they ripped it off because it was obviously at the same time, but even the logo kind of looks a bit like Apsu, because there's some
it's
weird
interesting
thing going on. The Offertory, the first 7-inch you did, was that latte cut. Was it like a black 7-inch or like a clear engraved plate?
Yeah, it was a black 7-inch. Yeah,
black 7-inch. Okay.
Yeah, very simple, very good.
It would be cool. It would be cool to see that re-release, because I once again looked today to find just the tracks, and they are impossible to find. They are not even
okay.
You're not on the web. I mean, Zombidanz as a whole is not really, because when I usually start these interviews, I just put in on Google and just see all the links and start reading. But for Zombidanz, there's not really that much out online. You have the blog spots still up that depicts the releases and then gives a short intro or something like that. And then the YouTube channel, which gives just snippets of the entire thing. That is a choice, of course. That is a well thought out choice.
Yeah, it's sort of a choice. I guess it mostly reflects my habits, I guess, because I'm not myself online that much. Some things I like to do. I mean, I like forums. I try to also put some advertisement on forums, because I exchanged a lot. I learned a lot from discussion forums. That was really a big thing at some point on the internet. But social media, I always was a bit behind for some reasons. It was kind of reflecting my lifestyle. Yes, I was always a bit suspicious of for the right and the wrong reasons, of course.
Yes.
But yeah, and since as I explained to you earlier, most of the guys that buys my stuff, they usually know where to find me. They have my contact address. I try to have at least my email address available. and people who wants to find me finds me usually.
Yeah.
And I don't know how you feel about that, but I feel like it's getting also crazier and busier, and actually it's hard to keep up, even because I started the Instagram page some years ago, I think, and sometimes I spend a lot of time without any posts, and it's hard to keep up. You need the availability as well, and to think about it, and then it's sort of a job as well, actually, to have like social media managing and things like that. And I feel like it's you put it out and then you post it and then it's gone, something like that. So always see it hardly worth the trouble.
I've been thinking about it a lot lately because obviously I have a presence online with the Instagram and this YouTube channel, but it is becoming it's becoming a bit draining, and it's like a circle of Ouroboros with looking at releases, buying releases, talking about releases, buying releases, looking at releases, and it just, I don't know. I think I used to do Facebook and Instagram. I canceled Facebook some years ago, and I think when Instagram finally dies, I think I'm done. I'll maybe keep up the YouTube channel, but it's like you said, it is a drain, and not just on time. It's it's on a lot of things. It's kind of my news source. Because I don't look at the news, I don't read the news, which is sometimes a good thing, sometimes a bad thing. But it's a weird thing, social media for sure. And I don't know how weird it is. I think that's something we will learn in a few years, how much it affected us. Because when I think I started like maybe in 2016 with that stuff, when I think how long I've been doing that, it's it's kind of a reality check lately.
Of course, of course.
It's I don't know. Sometimes it's a good thing because I like to use it in a positive way to like make a connection with you when people like you.
Yeah.
So maybe put in a light of day, like the tape trading in the past, something like that. That is the positive side about it. But you spend way too much time on something like that.
Yeah, I would say so. But as you said, so many good things as well. The so many good releases too, and new bands to learn about, and it's sharing pictures. And I like to browse through websites and Instagram and things like that. And I'm sure if when I was younger, I would have used a bit more if it was that developed as it is today. But it's I like looking at artworks and at band pictures. It's nice. It's part of the culture. It's also, you need to feed your eyes and to discover new things and to reach out. But there's a lot of crap in between the lines as well. Yeah.
The algorithm should be even more dedicated to what you are dedicated to. Then it would be okay. But I don't need to see car pictures and then stuff like that.
You do not need that. No.
Okay, back to the label. The snippet on the side is Zombidanz started as a paper magazine focusing on the essential rotten sound of underground black death metal. You also use the deathcore term for stuff. So far, 2 issues are published. Around 2016, Zombidanz started the label producing underground releases, usually in old school styles of forgotten scenes, thousands of light years from the current trends, which is all encapsulating what the label is all about. I've written down the label focuses on the arcane sound from forgotten times and lands. That was before I read the description. The catalog seems filtered through your own interests, of course, but it's, I would say, still varied in sound now. If you're like someone like your girlfriend or my wife listens to it, it's all the same. It's just
maybe so, yes.
Guys in makeup making a lot of record, but it goes from Greek doom to Brazilian deathcore, if you can call it that. What makes a Zombidanz release? Is there does it has to be a personal connection with the artist, or where do you find your releases? That's probably, I don't think you find them on Instagram. So how does that work?
Well, basically, I'm always hungry for new music, and I mean, discovering. I'm very orthodox in my taste, so I always want this sort of sound through this sort of times, and always this timeline in this area, and it has. I'm very orthodox, very very hard to deviate from that. So it really reflects my my taste, and I've always been fascinated with the multiplicity, especially in black metal. You could call it diversity, even if the words today has a different meaning. But it was so different. There are not so many. I mean, you could not compare Abruptum to Master's Hammer. They are so different bands, but the same era, same philosophy, same aesthetic. They were in touch. They were really trying to embrace individualism, to have something that only belongs to them. And that, for me, that was always the main philosophy behind black metal. It's about individuality. It's about standing out in also respecting tradition, but standing out at the same time. It's actually a thin edge. But and this is what always fascinated me when you have that sound from that era, from even, and that band is very special among those other special bands. It's always very niche, very different, completely the opposite of everything else that pop culture is trying to feed us and to put through our mouths and say, oh, it has to be the same but a bit different, but the same, always the same. And I like the main idea of black metal being just something different among things that are different. So when I pick up a release, it's really I follow my taste. I'm crazy about black metal. I spend hours trying to discover new bands through magazines, through browsing Metal Archive, browsing YouTube, talking to people, checking out lists, checking out any sort of source of information I can get my hands on. I try, and it's always, of course, it's exhausting to listen to a lot of bad stuff, try to find some stuff, and it does not stand out. But then you find that good release and you say, okay, this is worth spreading out. And can I reach out to the guy? Can I reach out to the original members? Once again, with social media, it has become quite easy to reach out. Some of the people who were busy in the 90s, it would have been impossible 10 years ago or something like that, I think. So that's also a good aspect. So really every release is follow my taste. Some stuff I wanted to do for a long time, like the Dead Christ. It's something that was really a long-term project. And some stuff, bands maybe just send me a tape. They get in touch. I discover them through Bandcamp or YouTube links or something, and then it clicks, and then I get things moving on. So that's basically how it was. Very organic.
Yeah. Do they ever contact you, or does it happen that a band contacts you or sends in labels, sends in demos or something?
Yeah, it does happen. Like for instance, Depravement, the guy sent me a tape through the mail, so that was actually very surprising. I'm sure a lot of other people who owns label will tell you the same thing. You get so many emails that are all the same, like a chain emails that says, "Hello, please sign my band," and camp links, and it's an automatic no, of course. Don't even want to try out. But some people truly reach out and they say, "Okay, I like your label. I like what you do. Please consider this. This is what we do." And usually, I mean, for instance, for Opus Magorum or for Necromantical Invocation, we go way back actually from just for sharing the same taste. So those are people that I've been in touch with because we share the same taste in music, and then they started doing music. And of course, I want to release it because there's also a personal connection, and I feel very safe working with them because I know we have the same taste, the same ethics, and etc. So that's basically how it works.
You have a good ear for it, because I think the best example for it is the Spectral Moon, the demo tape you released. I like that tape. I really do. But if you listen to the full length, I don't know how it will be shown when we cut it, but if you listen to the full length, it is maybe even a bigger step than between Zombidanz magazine 2 and 3. The musicianship and the scope of that record is beyond insane. I put it on YouTube. It's probably my favorite release of the year, I think.
Yeah, very nice.
Such a good record.
It's a crazy record, and indeed it was a bit of a bet. But when I got the tape, the first rehearsal tape, even before I release it, because that poorly cut out rehearsal tape that we did with the Xerox at home, I think 2019 or something like that. But there were one or two songs that were really standing out. You really had to put your ear next to the speaker to really hear it. But nobody else was doing that sort of sound. Maybe Moon of Accessbet was doing that, but once again, that was maybe 2 bands out of the how many other bands doing the blasphemy thing, or so for me they really stood out. And the way they designed the logo, I knew there was something there. And they took, I think, 4 or 5 years to record the album. Had lots of stuff going on. And yeah, when I got the result, it was just insane. It was really paid off indeed. Yeah. Very happy about that one.
They're from Lima?
From Peru, yeah, Lima, Peru. Yeah, exactly. Out of all places. Yeah, exactly.
It is just insane the leap they took in scope. Also, I thought it was funny you have the YouTube channel and you have like snippets from like the new 7 inches, for example, like a minute. Yeah. You said like, here's the snippet from this record. It's 20 minutes.
Something like that, yes. Really puts things in perspective, yeah.
It's over an hour, right? It's like 70 minutes maybe, or am I mistaken?
Something like that, yeah. Something like that, because originally they wanted a single LP, but we had to do it in a DLP, and I think we could have done, so maybe it's only 60 minutes or something like that, because we could have done it maybe in a single LP, but we would have had too many sound quality loss, and for such a record, for me, it was out of the question. It had to be really good.
Yeah, that's a really good choice, because you can hear it. The audio part is really handled well. How is the artwork handled for releases? Do you do the artwork, or is that collaboration? They're all very, I don't know, they're all very different, but somehow you feel like it's a Zombidanz release. I don't know how that works.
Good. Because for every release, it's a bit different. When it comes to new bands, usually new bands, they have quite if they are consistent, and I try to sign consistent bands, they usually have a fair idea of what they want as a result. I mean, they usually come up with the artwork. Sometimes I don't have to do anything. Like, for instance, the Spectral Moon, they had a graphic designer and they sent me files ready to print, something like that. Yeah. So really, they really had a vision, which I respect totally, and it's actually very good. I never had a bad experience where they sent me an artwork and it's awful, so that's good. For example, the Depravement, they had a good idea, but they wanted me to help with the graphic design because they're very good drawers. All these guys.
She does isn't it the girl who does the artwork for them?
Actually, that's so. Indeed, Heidi is playing bass on that record. Hellgium and art, yeah, indeed. But I don't think she did the cover. I think this is actually the.
No, it's true. Actually, this is more her style.
It's definitely more her style. Yeah. You'll recognize it instantly. Yeah.
Yeah, true. It has that Chris Mayen, but maybe a bit more distorted and a little bit more chaotic.
Yeah, I like it. It's really primitive always, yeah.
It's in the line of white and black artwork, red logo, which is always a good sign for.
Or good sign, exactly. Very safe spot, yeah, exactly.
True.
And for for older bands, I usually am in charge of everything. So because I mean, people who have done this 20 years ago, they usually don't care. They say, okay, do this how you feel about it, and then for those releases like Behemoth, Heptameron, and Dead Christ, I'm usually behind it all the way.
Yeah, but for something like that, like the Dead Christ is more of an archival release. There's the artwork is already there, so it's just putting, or copy paste is the wrong word, but it's just putting them together, which is an insanely nice record too. I can't get them all, but they're behind me. Cool. It's a co-release with Down with the Most High.
Yeah.
Was that the first one?
So the Dead Christ I released myself on DLP, and then basically Daniel from Down with the Most High sort of licensed it, I guess you could say that, to be released on tape. And he also offered to do the merchandising, which is very good because that's something I'm very bad at.
There's not much merchandising from Zombidanz.
No, I think none actually so far. But it's I always want to do things the best way possible. And actually, when you look at labels, Down with the Most High is doing merchandising the best way possible. So for me, it was really a right move, because to look for to look for a shirt printer, and then I have no idea what sizes metalheads wear t-shirt. I really wouldn't know the I guess fat dude, and then and then I print too many XLs, and then it's only S that I'm being requested or something like that. I don't I didn't feel very comfortable in that sort of business, if you could call it that. So it was a good opportunity to work with Daniel, and he actually was in touch with Dead Christ back in the early 90s when he did his magazine, because he had a fanzine written in Spanish. I can't remember the name, but he can tell you that.
Yeah, there's a copy with the proclamation re-release, I think, but the name escapes me. There are so many zines.
Yeah. That's actually a different one, and
okay.
I think that's the one from the guy from Proclamation, and
True.
Daniel did one in Spanish actually, so it's not very easy to find. And he was in touch with Dead Christ, so he actually sent me some material. That was very nice.
Okay. The thing I wondered about the Scientiam Templum. What happened with the artwork there? Because the promo flyer, and I put it within reach. Promo flyer has this insane painting, and then it's not a bad cover, not at all. But it wasn't. It was like I was under the impression I got the wrong record at first, and then I was like, okay, it changed. Was it just a picture for the promo, or?
Yeah, that was just for the flyer, and for the flyer, he said you have all the room you want, and I had this picture. I don't even know from where. It's from an old book, and I found it online. I'm not so sure. It would be interesting to Google search it actually, to see if it comes from somewhere. And for the Scientiam Templum release, they had everything prepared as well. They say, this will be the artwork, this will be this, and I just handled the promotion, and for the flyers, I just did this. That's the
story.
Yeah.
I thought it was something with licensing or maybe something like that. So yeah, the asshole question. I was going to ask, pick your 3 favorites, but I think the Offertory is one, or number one maybe. What's your 3 favorite releases from you?
So I would go on praising the Spectral Moon, I think, because I waited for it for such a long time. So it was really a great payoff to stand behind the band and wait for them to record, and they wanted to always slow things down and take the time to do it properly, and that's how we did it. I gave them all the room they needed, and the result was fantastic. So this is really one record I'm very happy about. It was one of the first band I signed. I think one of the first one of my favorites is actually Tomb Gates of Gehenna, which is the first LP I did, the first 12-inch I did. It's really cool. It's one of those bands from Malaysia and Singapore that I'm really obsessed. I was really obsessed with that sound for a long time. Still am, and they were the only band. I think they still are one of the few bands that really played in that style, along with Perfidious that we did recently.
Okay.
So it was really a unique scene, as we discussed about before, really from that place, that time, and they really recaptured that sound. So, and they were the only one to do so. And they put out 2 tapes before that. No one cared about them, and I reached out, and we did the first Zombidanz LP together. So Tomb Gates of Gehenna, that's a good one.
That's one I'm missing still.
Okay. I will see if I can find that for you. And then maybe Dead Christ as well, because that was really a big deal for me, because they were like one of these very few bands to do this sort of style back then, like this Beherit, Blasphemy, Bestial Summoning kind of bestial style. They were sort of famous, because they were one of the, they had this 7-inch released on this Greek label, Molon Records, and yeah, this was like quite an achievement for me. I took care of everything. I laid out everything. I reached out to a sound engineer for one of the first time to restore the original tapes. And so it sounds good. It looks good. It's a good band. Historically sort of important. So yeah, kind of a big deal. I was very happy with that one.
I think they're a weird band because if you start reading about them, they get lumped into because they're English. So it's easy for a journalist, I would say, to lump them into I'm not going to say the Carcass or something, but they were in that vein, the Carcass, the Amoebixes, or that whole peaceful scene. But they stood out in the sense that, like you say, they brought something that was maybe missing in that scene, that beheaded sound or that whispering bestial stuff. But they still managed to, I don't know, it's still a crossover with Crust in some way. So there's a crusty beheaded or something like that. It's an interesting band.
Yeah, definitely unique, especially in the English landscapes for that era. I mean, not so many stuff released from England, out of all place, once again, that was like so glorious in the 60s, 70s, 80s on all fronts, and then the 90s, especially in black metal, it's a bit poor. So
I talked about that with Charlie in Length. I send you the link for that video.
Definitely.
We kind of struggled to find not just the root structure or the tree that was UK black metal, but it's actually very poor in that sense. Yeah. Especially coming from, like you say, it started with Black Sabbath. If you know,
of course,
keep it simple, and then to see where it ended up, and then I don't know. It's weird that there's not much follow up, especially in the 90s.
Interestingly enough, yeah.
I think they picked back up. Around the early 2000 mark, UK starts picking back up. That's another story. What I was going to do next to kind of round off the record portion is to get a spotlight on the latest releases. There are 4, if you can say. There are 3 7-inches. I have to look at at my cheat sheet. There's Perfidious with Ceremonial Oaths from Malaysia, which we talked about.
Yeah, Perfidious, yes.
I just listened to it again. Oh no, I listened to this one. But yeah, they all have, once again, that's they could have been from back then, but they're spanking new. They're all new material, I assume.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think once again 3 fantastic releases. I was looking forward to the Necromantical Invocation the most, maybe just because of the tape you released with Medieval Prophecy. But none of these releases disappoint in the least. So these are the 3. This is the one we talked about first.
Yeah,
the Malaysian one
from Malaysia. Yeah, exactly.
And then 2 Greased Opus Magorum, which has one very driving, hammering black metal track and one more ambient, even dungeon synth track.
Yeah, you could say that.
The Necromantical Invocation is just pure Greek, like Doom, I guess, but then with their own touches added to it. Yeah, very cool releases. Anything to say about them, or not to promote them, or to
them, of course. And no, I'm happy. They're actually for once they actually made it quite far in a few distributions. So they reached out. They reached their audience, which is very cool because for many reasons nobody buys 7-inch anymore. Nobody presses 7-inch anymore, and nobody buys them because for many reasons. One being that. Shipping costs and producing costs have raised so much that it costs a lot to press a 7-inch, and when you buy a 7-inch, you usually have to pay the full shipping price. That's often the case, and then you say, okay, why bother? I will wait for an album, and I will not buy this 2 tracks, small piece of vinyl. So it's sort of dying out, I'm afraid. I'm not sure we're gonna see them around for a while. But they're part of the culture. They're part of the history of music, of course, and black metal as well. Especially when you see from Greece, like they had so many good 7-inch from Greece. Molodlev, if you check that label out, especially, they have so many good release black metal 7-inch with and you have 2 tracks, and they're all usually excellent. And on the contrary, you have so many releases these days that one demo bands that release a LP, and then you have 2 good tracks, and the rest is crap. So in a way, it sort of balances out. But unfortunately, the reality is they're expensive to produce, they're expensive to buy and to ship. So I was a bit afraid. That's why I released the 3 together, so you can get sort of a package, and it was a more convenient thing to do. They go well together as well. And yeah, indeed, Opus Magrum was a bit of a surprise. They contacted me. I was in touch with the guy. He played in Itaqua before.
Okay.
So that's one of the two guys, and the other guy from Itaqua is actually the guy behind Necromantical Invocation. And Opus Magrum, it's really nice, and they have that dungeon synth song, and they've been around for a while. They met no success whatsoever. I think they have a demo LP as well and a bunch of tapes.
There's a lot of self-release stuff, yeah.
I think so, yeah, I think so. And they've been around for a while. I think almost 10 or 15 years or something, something like that. So I'm happy to put a bit of spotlight on it. It's a really true black metal in the best possible way. I think very straightforward, very black and very powerful. Yes. Necromantical Invocation is quite unique. I mean, you have to listen to it. It's 2 songs. I think it's almost 15 minutes of material, so not bad for a 7-inch.
No, true. It's also a gatefold 7-inch. So
sorry.
It's also a gatefold 7-inch, which doesn't have.
It's also a gatefold 7-inch, yeah, indeed. So it has a bit of packaging behind it, and they once again they really had a vision with the graphics. They sent me everything. They really saw the music and graphics coming together. So I think it's a nice achievement. Yeah. And the songs are fantastic. Yeah.
Yeah, true. For all the 7-inches, especially these two, these are the perfect precursor to what's coming next. If they would do a full length, I was hoping for the Necromantical Invocation to do a full length, but this is, I mean, if this is the step to it, it's very well received. So if I can hype anything, get these.
Sure.
Also, the prices are democratic. They are not insane. Like, I mean, the way things are going, I'm very close to stop collecting, but then the channel dies. So that's another dichotomy I have to work out.
Yeah, it's getting hard, and you have to be careful because you had sort of an inflation in pressing records because for the reasons that we sort of know or don't know, and just like everything, just like food, just like construction material, everything raised up. But as for everything, there's a lot of profit margin in this sudden high raise of price. So don't let other people tell you that they really need to sell you a single LP 24 euro to make a profit. That's not true. I mean, it's more expensive than before, but there's a lot of margin behind it. So there's a bit of profits, of course. People are ready to throw their money, but other people will take advantage of that. And I tried for these 3 releases, I tried to just even out my money. That was my main goal. So I sell them for a decent price. And usually people buy a 7-inch, they want to buy a LP because it's the same shipping. So it's also a way of promoting it for me. So it's a good thing for the label if I get my money back, which I think I did by now. It's nice, cool. And it's visibility for me. So I think there was a strategic move or something like that.
I've seen them pop up on countless distros, so the distribution is good for this one, really. But yeah, there are a few labels that even I am a fan or that I follow that are just, I don't know, man. It's it's getting a bit much, especially for me because I have come to terms that I'm addicted to I don't know, to black metal, to vinyl, to collecting. I don't know what it is, but yeah, I have to for how I buy, I have become very selective, and I have to become even more selective. It's because of labels like Zombidanz and like the entire Brazilian thing that I started to focus more on the past and on the future. But I think a lot of people look to the channel for future releases or the new, and I don't know. I don't find the quality over the quantity anymore. So the scope is going backwards. I rather spend 150 on Holocausto Campo than I put 150 on 10 records that I'm probably not going to listen to. So that's the goal for the new year, but it's still half a year to go to the new year. The last release I wanted to highlight, of course, because we are both from the same country, is Nocturne de Manto. It is comparable to the Dead Christ in the sense that it is a compilation or a archival record.
Yes.
It is not comparable in the sense that Dead Christ has a lot of releases and is quote unquote professional bands. Nocturne de Manto was Do you have a nice word for the band?
Yeah, it was
wasn't
chaos.
anomaly. Chaos. Yeah. If you don't know him, this guy is the Antichrist perverter. That they were from Antwerp, the general Antwerp scene, and they were a. I'll try to explain it. They were a band on the crest where black metal started to become what black metal is, but that is another story for another time, because what is black metal, like what is art? They were on, like maybe Dead Christ, on the cusp of crust, not crust, but more they were black metal in the sense that it was the very beginning of the genre, but they had a lot of influences going, not just death metal, not just crust, not just whatever is in there. But there's something to behold actually. Did you ever see them live or anything?
No, I've never seen. I've seen pictures of their live concerts, but no, I think they only did 2 gigs. And as you say, they were definitely black metal because they were self-assumed and self-declared black metal when everybody else was going the death metal Swedish or American way. So they were part of the black metal movement, definitely. They're very comparable to Bestial Summoning, so it's this Holland, Belgian scene connection where they just play their hearts out, and it has to be fast, it's improvised, it's chaotic, it's
kind of grinding in some ways.
Definitely grinding, exactly. With a lot of insanity and a lot of craziness. It's all over the place. Indeed.
This is the second release. This is the second release together with Down with the Most High.
Yeah, indeed.
And very nice.
Indeed.
Yeah, there are a few stories that I'm not going to share that involve a soccer machine, but
okay.
I heard it from it's not confirmed, so I won't go into it. It's not yeah, it's if you are into the earlier grindy Black Death stuff, and you like you said, Bestial Summoning and the entire what Belgium and Holland were doing at the time. I think the first one is 92, the second one is 95, something like that.
Yeah, exactly.
Check this one out. Yeah, the pictures were around forever, but it's good to finally see, because the tapes are. I've never seen one of you. I think you have the tapes, no?
Yeah, I do so. That was basically the thing. I was always trying to reach out to these guys and trying to re-release it, but they're very hard to have a proper discussion with.
Still,
still exactly. So the insanity outlived the band. So. And then Dan, who was in touch, I think, with them from a long time ago, managed to get them to accept the release. And so he reached out to me, says, "Hey, do you have stuff for the band?" And I said, "Yeah, actually, I have everything ready. I'm ready to. I have everything to compile it and to." So I sent him everything, and then he said, "Can you help me with the graphics?" And I said, "You know what? Let's do it together, because I might as well jump in and we do it together." And it was very nice because we get along very well. We have the same taste in music, so it was a fun ride. Yes, this is not indeed this is not a beautiful release. This is not good music by any means. This really will hurt your ears, but it's a mindset. It's an era. It's a way of doing things differently, and at the same time with a lot of instinct, very primitive. So I think it has its place in black metal history, definitely.
Definitely. Yeah, it's good to hear that that insanity still reigns supreme in that part of Belgium. I've seen we already hit the 2-hour mark, and we are still in the first part of the prepared questions. Okay. I propose we do the second part, I guess, which is a lead into the book, but just start for the book, because all the questions or all the talking points will be met in the book. Okay. Because otherwise this will be a 3-hour, and nobody wants to see. Zombidanz is cool, but nobody wants to see a 3-hour video.
No, of course not.
The book, I will link the Nuclear War Now interview, because you delve into a lot of stuff and you go into how it rises, how it's dissipates in the end, or how it falls. But this is Zombidanz magazine number 3, which is a colossal zine. Yes. I'm still going to call it a zine because it has magazine.
Indeed.
But it is it is a true work of art and true work of love. It deals with the 90s scene in Brazil. We all know the cogumelo. Let's keep them all under the umbrella or the mushroom of cogumelo. We all know the bands that make up warfare noise, but I think if you glance at black metal, you never heard any of these bands before. So yeah, it is truly a Bible to get into the 90s stuff. From the interview with Nuclear War Now, you could say it's clearly that you have a heart for this scene, that because nobody is delving into. There is a book, The United Forces, which is staring at me, that kind of did it. But United Forces was more the difference, or the big difference between the two, I think, or in my opinion, is that they touch upon the scene, but they are a zine that is also global in scope. So you also have Poison in there. You also have, other bands in there, European bands, which makes it a very interesting thing, but it's not hyper focused. This thing is hyper focused. It's kind of hard for me to find a structure to talk about what the book is, but maybe give a short history or how it started, because it probably started with offertory 7-inch that blew your mind.
But once again, it goes with my taste and my lust for this sort of different sound and black metal. And at some point, indeed, I discovered those Behemoth guys from Brazil. Once again, it's just Behemoth is the black metal name, which is the most popular, of course. And then you realize it's actually also a Brazilian band. I like to call them the true Behemoth, of course, because they.
Yes.
And some labels were doing some small CDs. Like Hammer of Damnation. This is Hammer of Damnation release, I think. They put some focus, but on poor quality. And I realized, always delving deeper and deeper, that there were so many bands back then from that scene. So little information. Even in Brazil, only a few people actually still worshiping. Still worshiping that sound, and they all sounded crazy. So I thought, what a waste! This gold mine of great bands and the unique sound, and they're all getting forgotten by everybody for lack of visibility. And I decided to start doing it little by little as I approach bands to get their material, because I was first curious to listen to that. And then I started interviewing the guys as I went on, and I discovered more magazines with new names, and it was never ending. Actually, it was supposed to be just a sidezine, just like we did with the French death metal. And then it outgrew, and then at some point I said, okay, let's do something completely. Something like that. Quite a difference. Voila. Yeah.
That's what I'm talking about.
And I say, okay, let's go and let's make no compromise. Let's try to cover as much as we can. Let's go all in and make just something huge and go all the way. And then it took 3 years to gather all the material, and then it took 2 full months to lay everything out. Once again with Annie, who did everything and was once again faster and faster. So it was actually very fast to lay out, crazily fast. So a lot of focus. And once again, as we said earlier, with the social media and the things that are faster and faster, I wanted to do something that you couldn't just pop into the scene and then release that and then go. This is not this is not something that you can do fast. This is a piece of focus and work, and you contact people, then you lay everything out, and then you gather information. And I wanted really to reflect it, something that a true nerd does, and you get it, and I wanted something you get it, and you're like, oh, what's that? And it looks good, and it feels good, and so many things to look up. This is what I would like to. This is the kind of material I would like to discover and to find. And just when you find something like the United Force book, when you get it and you don't know much about this 80s Brazilian, it's very cool too. You have so many names to look up, so many bands to discover. I wanted to really to share that sort of feeling.
It is actually the perfect one too, and the fact that they came. I mean, the United Forces came out in Portuguese
Yeah,
a bit earlier, but it is the perfect one too because they focus on the more on the 80s aspect of Brazilian scene, and you just it's like part one and part two.
yeah,
For
somehow.
there is the abstract funeral zine, which is also
Yes,
highlighted here.
yeah, absolutely.
Which maybe is the 1, 2, 3 to
Yeah,
to
absolutely.
get it all going. The way I kind of structured
Yeah,
the
yeah,
book is you have there are in theory 4 big scenes, and then there is the leftovers, quote unquote.
yeah,
Pardon my French. The first one is the Minas Gerais, the Land of Legends.
yeah, of course.
The Barbacena scene, which is I wouldn't say the important one because they are all important, but I think for you it's the important one just because you know the most people or you have the contact there. I asked to pick one release maybe of each of the 4 and then
Yeah.
highlight them. Is that possible or?
Yeah, it is, of course.
Yeah.
I've done my homework, sir. So here they
Okay.
are. So yeah, indeed, Minas Gerais and Barbacena, and it was huge. I mean, just maybe not everybody knows that, but this is one of the biggest city in the world, actually. So it's really huge. So if there's a place where culture could happen, this was it, because
Yep.
there's so many people, so many things going on. This was the place where Sepultura comes from, Sarcophago, Warfare Noise, everything. I mean, that's why we called it the Land of Legends, because there's so much going on just through the 80s. It's insane.
The entire 80s kind of happens there. Sex Trash, all of it is there.
Absolutely, and many bands were traveling from other regions to Minas Gerais to actually record because they had the good sound engineer, they had the good studios, the good live gigs, etc. So
is it true that because it's not on paper, I'll forget to ask. Is it true that the younger bands could use the studio or the practice or the gear from the bands that were more established or better connected? And that's why the sound kind of here and there gets pulled up out of the true necro sound. Is that a fact or?
I think there's something behind that, mostly because everybody was connected. Everybody sort of knew everybody. There was sort of a very urban scene, so everybody was getting out. And also from the 80s to the 90s, also a lot of bands were selling and handing out their material, their equipment, sorry, because they were getting a bit more endorsed by, like, for instance, Sepultura was getting endorsed, and so bands tried to be a bit more professional. So a lot of equipment was laid out, and I think since everybody was friends, since everybody was sort of worshipping, there's a lot of stories about sharing rehearsal rooms and sharing equipment. Indeed, yeah.
That's cool to hear. That's how it should be.
Yeah, that's how it should be. Exactly. So you just showed one of the page from Abaddon, which is one of the releases I want to talk about. Yeah, indeed. This is Calvary Death, and
this is maybe my favorite picture in the entire book, just because I have kids and
look at that. Come with Daddy and let's take a few pictures. Come to the cemetery, don't go to school, and yeah.
As we do in Minas Gerais.
Yeah, exactly. I'm here to pick up Kevin. He's gonna do a photo shoot with me. It's an interesting band. Yeah, interesting picture, definitely.
But you have the tape from that band, which is
that's not. This is from Abaddon, definitely.
Okay.
Abaddon, which is they used to be a trio doing Black Doom, and then they evolved through sort of an unique ambient, sort of pagan. I don't know how to call it. It's really unique. It's very ritual sounding. Nothing else sounds like that. So they're once again black metal at heart, but sonically speaking, they're very ambient bands. And they do this sort of rituals on tapes. This is a tape called Glorifier of Satanas, Denier of Adonai. You can't make this shit up.
I didn't recognize the cover, but...
yeah, of course, it's a sort of a dark thing with... it's very hard to see. And it's all over the place. The music is unique. The lyrics are crazy. And it's filled with sort of plenty of pentagrams and things done on pencil, and you can see it just by the look of it. It's fantastic. This is a tape I see and I want to listen to it, definitely.
I love a tape. I love a J card that is cut and then that is extra cut with a fold out.
Yeah, exactly.
That makes it extra hard.
Yeah, indeed. So the surprise down there, indeed.
That is dedication.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, tape by tape with the scissors, that's how it should be done. So there are unique bands, and they have a lot of tapes recorded. I think a few are available online. If they are not, you can still contact me. I would be happy to share them because I have them all. I think I have them all digitalized as well. So this is material that should be spread because it's so good, so unique. Everything hand drawn. They are completely crazy about their beliefs. However primitive or naive they could be, they were really just into it. So this was really this was not a uniform. This was a way of life, definitely.
It's crazy that it's really crazy you picked that tape because on the compilation that came with the book, these are 2 PDRs that are chock full. I think there are 12 and then 10 tracks on each.
Yep.
The thing that stood out, and that's why I asked the question about the gear and stuff. There are a few bands, I don't know, I think Necro Decimator, maybe, I'm not sure, that their sound gets pulled out and then they become huge or larger than live or larger than the Necro sound. But the thing that surprised me the most was the Abaddon, actually, because
cool.
I didn't expect ambient or dungeon synth from that part of the world. It's because if you look at it very simplistically, the entire 90s scene is first wave black metal, blasphemy, and then the doom part comes from Greece. That's maybe the 3 parts, and then Beherit in Finland, true punk comes in. But then to have a dungeon, there's, all these things are war, bestial, fucked up shit, and then there's all of a sudden there's people that are into this, like Morty's saying, okay, hi Emperor, bye Emperor, and I'm doing ambient stuff. So it's weird that it pops up there too. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it's part of the diversity once again of the scene, and it's actually it's crazy because it really stands out. But in a way, this is the right way for black metal to actually, even among the ones that are standing out, I'm gonna do the thing I think is different. I'm gonna try something different. I'm gonna go with my beliefs and try to put them on tape. And then this is something that stands out. So once again, it's pure black metal, even if it does not sound like black metal. This is the attitude. This was some guy who listened to the same old songs, but he said, okay, I'm going to try something different. And it makes sense in the way that there were so many black metal bands around that they wanted to be not to just be part of a movement, but to really embrace the philosophy behind it and do something different.
I think that's why I think black metal is still the most free form, not just genre, but art piece or movement that is there. Because if you look at the basic structure of what is black metal, it is 4 guys playing a lot of noise, but the scope in what black metal can be is, there was a lot of freedom in the beginning, and I think there still is, because I have a problem with dungeon synth in the sense that what it has become, but you can say the same for black metal actually. So I can go so far. Also in collecting, I can go so far, but it's maybe the most true art form there ever was, apart from true art or graphic art or something like that. But it is. Yeah,
definitely.
That's why it still fascinates me to find something like that after all these years. Not just to find black metal from Brazil, which opens another portal for me, but to find the connection between Beherit, Blasphemy, and all. And all coagulates into Brazil, I guess. The second part is Bahia, the Wiccan cults, led by Mystifier, I would say. But,
definitely.
I'm pretty sure you're not picking a Mystifier release.
No, I had the tape around just in case we had to talk about. So this is the Mystifier tape. So here it is. But everybody knows Mystifier by now. I would recommend the Necrolust, which is this very a bit clumsy and big double CD DVD case of the Necrolust demos and live. They were from
one that showed up.
Absolutely, it sounds so fantastic.
I think maybe that is the one that has the really great sounds.
Yeah, absolutely.
or the beefed up sound, I would say.
Yeah, and it's so well developed, the song structure, the keyboards, everything connects. It's almost like what Rotting Christ would do later. It's really crazy. Yeah, just look at these guys. And
You can
Necrolust,
almost smell them.
yeah, absolutely.
Great picture too.
And Necrolust is as far as black metal goes, they for me they have it all. This is this obscure demo bands. They look fantastic. On the pictures are amazing. The logo is good. The songs are incredible. I mean, so well composed and so shitty sounding. You know, at the same time, there's this really big dichotomy that's we can play better than any other death metal band, but we actually decide to sound like that because it sounds so evil and so necro, and so this really fascinates me.
That's what I meant with there in the. I abandoned the cheat sheet, but that's what I meant with. There is this in Norway the creation of the necro sound, but if you start listening to the Brazilian '90s and then you listen back to something like Bosom, it's like, wow, this is actually very nicely produced and by Pitten in the entire cathedral of Norwegian noise. It is weird how your scope or focuses change. Yeah, what country or what genre you decide to delve into. So I think the true necro sounds, if you can call it like, is '90s Brazil.
Yeah, I would say so.
It's a pure distillation of the first wave and the entire war scene. Yeah, sometimes I'm lost for words, and this is one of the times. It's just, I don't know how. Yeah, it is kind of an endpoint for me. Is that the same for you? Where to go after this?
Yeah, that's a good question. Well, I think there's always more to discover, and hopefully there are gonna be more new bands to actually make some good music as well.
Yeah.
Now, I always get surprised by the stuff I don't know, by how rich and vast was black metal. As you said, it's a true art form, and so many people were doing it at the same time. It looks like not so much. If you just look up what came out as black metal in 1993, you have maybe 25 albums or something like that, and it was a big year for black metal. But
depending on what magazine you're reading. Yeah.
Exactly, yeah, exactly. But I'm always surprised by amazing stuff that was recorded back then. I usually trust the underground from back then and today to somehow always deliver new stuff. I think you have to think like that as well. And recently was this American bands I discovered from. I bought a tape sort of by accident. I added, this. I will add it to the cart. It has the same shipping price anyway. It looks intriguing, and it turns out it's amazing. And I was like, okay, what is this amazing stuff? So you always get surprised. I think you just have to keep looking.
What was the band?
It was called Fragmentation, and it's from the US. I don't think anyone ever talked about that, and they have this amazing tape called Black Death. It's like Acheron from America meets Armored Angel from Australia. So it is so well produced for a tape. It sounds so good. It has this satanic death, American satanic death metal, like zine and like Acheron. This really unique part of, which is almost the true American black metal, which is sort of that sort of sound.
Yeah.
And I contacted them recently. Said, "Hey, your stuff is amazing." And they said, "Oh yeah, we have found our first fan for since in 30 years or something like that." So
they're an old band? No.
Yes, they released the tape in 1995. They recorded it late '94, so it's insane. It's been under the radar ever since. If you can find it, maybe I will re-release it probably at some point. I would love that. I'm in discussion with the guys, and once again, I've been listening to that sort of sound, trying to find the most obscure tape, and I still discover stuff like that.
That's cool. Yeah, for me too. There's like you said, there's always something new, but it kind of feels like when you're listening to this stuff, like, yeah, it's blowing smoke up their ass, but it can't get any better than
maybe so. Yeah,
we'll see. The third part or the third part of that world is Sao Paulo, the Black Goats.
Yes, of course. Yeah. Probably the harshest bunch.
Yes.
I have a tape. Go ahead. Sorry.
There's when you see the other pages, it's like the artwork looks all a bit the same. This is it all looks very chaotic and different, and
Yeah.
It's maybe a more chaotic scene than the other, which is saying a lot because they're all pretty dark.
Yeah, indeed. Yeah,
Which
once again,
tape you have? Or?
I have Bestimator, which is still around, band that is still around. They still haven't recorded an album, I believe, and they had this second tape, Per la Gloria de Mal. Probably have the wrong accent saying this, but
I think it's okay.
I think it's okay, maybe so. This is their second tape. Oh yeah, those are the guys. Look at them; they look fantastic, and they're really very bestial. If you're into blasphemy, you should go for that tape. And the first one, Desire of Leviathan, and this is the second tape. I think it's all the way very chaotic, very crazy, obscure sounds. It's quite magical, quite magical. They also have a live tape from '93. Which is also a very good recording, and I think they're still around. I'm not sure if they are as good and as powerful as before, but they are still doing only live, I think. So they're only a live band. I think so. So yeah, very good tape, quite obscure. I think there's plan to from Brazilian labels to release that on CD. I think at some point. This should pop up sooner or later.
Yeah, my focus is not on CDs, but it should be because like the Apsu one is only on CD, but I just discovered it researching it, and yeah, it's all very good. Last but not least, Rio de Janeiro, My Visions of the Nocturnal City.
Yes.
It's maybe the most well-known, or I don't know. The one that stood out was the just because of the cover of the tape. I'm looking for it, the Ancient Sign Glorify.
Ah, yeah, exactly. There it is. That's the tape I picked, actually. Here, there you go.
This was not planned.
No, indeed.
Or it was planned, but it was not talked about. That's it. Yeah.
Very cool tape. Very release. Very small. Very short tape. Sounds a lot like Meat-Paste, Celtic Frost, Hellhammer type of sounds. Very well produced for the time and place. It's quite unique once again, and the Ancient Sign Glorify guy has a label now. He's doing some CDs of all the Brazilian bands. He did Songe d'Enfer on CDs. I think he played in Mephistopheles as well. So Rio de Janeiro was a very small scene, only maybe 5 or 10 guys doing black metal and sharing members between bands. The prototype of the small circle that you would see then in Europe a bit later. Very small city, small world, and sharing members, sharing guitars, and then 5 or 6 bands at the most, something like that.
Is Rio de Janeiro smaller than Minas Gerais?
You mean as a city? You mean as a
is it a city or a region? It's more of a region. Rio de Janeiro is a city, and then Minas Gerais is basically a region. Or am I mistaken?
So indeed, Minas Gerais is a region, and Rio de Janeiro is a city. But I'm not sure if it's one of those cities that is actually also a region. Could be.
It's kind of a unknown land. Have you ever been to Brazil?
No, I have not actually, which is fun because I know all their obscure band, but I never managed to find the time and money to get there yet. Let's see.
Imagine going record shopping there.
That would be fantastic. Yes.
Okay, so that's basically how I went through the book. I haven't read it all because it's quite, like I said, a big book. There's reviews in here. There is even a chapter going further than the 4 main parts. The last thing I wanted to get into, and that's usually around the hour mark. We are now at 1 hour 20.
Yeah.
Is maybe more a focus on you, or not as a person, but maybe as a collector, or maybe just music. I asked for your want list that is in the book.
Ah, yes, that's the tape want list. Yeah, indeed.
Is there one item, because it's quite a list. It's a good list. Mine has 7,000 items. Yours has maybe 30. Is there one specific thing that you're really looking for?
Well, I'm heavily into record collecting, so I collect mostly record. In the book, it's actually a tape want list from Brazil. Yeah. So those are the bands I missed, the bands I read names but could not find the sounds. And I've been collecting records for what seems like forever. It's ever growing. I mean, my collection is between not enough and way too much, something like that. So somewhere in between that. So as you said, it's a disease. It's a very sad thing to endure, but I keep on.
Yes.
I'm not sure what's my most wanted stuff. I think the Grafspé vinyl, which is called Reincarnation from Uruguay, which is so South America. It's sort of a trash death, kind of the Sepultura from Uruguay, you could say that. So very obscure, very and they released that album on a label called Orfeo Records. It was released twice, but it's not the same as the original. And I have most of my South American records
Original.
checked. Yes, most of them, but this one I miss, and this one, it's crazy hard to find. So that one I would love to have actually.
It's an extreme long shot, but if anyone has it,
yeah, please, for a very cheap price, of course.
yes, and double, of course, because who would let that go?
Yeah.
Yeah, we are into your collection then. How did because you are, it surprised me in the once again the 2K interview that you are basically a very young guy. Not very young, but you're younger than I expected. How did you start collecting, or when did you start collecting? Around what time?
Pretty much as soon as I started buying music. I mean, as I started buying metal, there was a record shop in Brussels, which you probably know about. It's called Electrocution. Probably you've been there near the Beurs, you know.
This week.
yeah, but there you go. It's been there forever, for what it seems like forever. I think every collector in Belgium knows the place. And as I was discovering black metal, I was very young. I think like 12 or something like that, and I started to buy CDs and then to buy stuff. And at some point,
were you living in Brussels? Sorry, were you living in Brussels at the time, or?
No, I was living in Brabant Wallon, which is you know, south of Brussels. So I would go there from time to time. And then at some point, I don't know, I started to look up the vinyls that they had, and I said to my stepfather, "Hey, maybe we have a record player at home." And then we bought one. Actually, he bought one for me, and then we bought the record. I think the first record I bought was Mayhem picture disc of Death Crush. It was like a very nice reason. I loved the first album, which was like a true revelation for me. So I said, "Oh, they have more," and then I bought this one, which was very different. I still have it, of course. And then I started just buying records and then tapes. And then as I went deeper into metal, and it's funny because you mentioned earlier that you would rather buy the like a rare LP that you're gonna play forever for a good price, rather than buy 10 releases that you're gonna just accumulate, listen to once. And this is exactly how I built my collection. I went for the rare records. I wanted stuff that I would listen forever. So I started to buy battery LPs, originals, and I said, okay, I will spend maybe 50 euro, 40 euros, work for a month, summer job, and then buy a bunch of records. So the record collection built up slowly, but always with only heavy hitters. I wanted to have stuff that I could listen to a lot. As the years go by, I accumulated also a lot of stuff that I'm not listening to anymore. Because I tend to buy everything from anything a bit extreme from 82 to 95. I try to have on records, even if it's a re-release. So it has to be that time and place. So I have a lot of stuff, but most of the originals I was looking for, I got earlier for a good price by avoiding to accumulate poor stuff. Yeah, definitely. Yeah. That's how I went.
Do you sell stuff?
Not really. I mean, from time to time when I get a replacement, but not really. No, indeed. Especially because I got to a point where, you get a job and then you don't need records to sell records to buy more records. That's which is a good feeling. But I never bothered much selling records from my collection.
Yeah. The problem with me is that my collection is not just black metal. I didn't start at black metal. Like my first record was not Mayhem, for example. So I have I've sold a lot, especially lately, just because I'm running out of room, literally.
Yeah, of course.
That is one, and just because my interests change, and I have this waiting bin that I put records in, and I listen to them 2 more times if they're not anymore, they can go. And so far, there are maybe 1 or 2 that I'm regretting, but over the most part, it's good. Yeah, your collection is quite big, but it's focused, which I liked. What format dominates? Is it 12-inch?
Yeah, definitely 12-inch and tapes. Tapes I
Yeah.
tend to accumulate a lot for a long time. But definitely 12-inch first and then tapes. And CDs, I've come to like them more and more
Yeah.
over the years. They sound good actually. They're cheap to buy and they're a good alternative to the expensive LP. So I would encourage everybody to try to get some nice CDs. They're actually in the rated format, definitely.
I just got a mini collection from a friend from England that it was that was quite just original CDs, and I reevaluated the fact that CDs are actually a very nice format, just place wise, and you can play them in the car. I still have a CD player, so I really enjoy
Nice.
it. Yeah. Um, yeah. The last question I have, because we skipped the want list, is highlight 5 items that are grails or cornerstones within the collection.
Yes, I have them prepared here.
Perfect. You're such a good
Such a
interviewer.
good pupil. Yeah, exactly. Maybe one that was really a cornerstone for me, and we talked so much about Brazil. So this is the lost tape of Cogumelo. So it says it all. This was a compilation released in the late 80s, compiling all the great bands from the labels, and so those are the lost tapes. So those were the demos that were sent to Cogumelo to be signed on. So this is a compilation tape that combines Overdose, which is the band that was originally on the split with the first Sepultura release. You have a demo song from Holocausto. You have 2 demo songs from Sarcophago. You have a very special take of Necromancer by Sepultura, one of the best version out there. And you have Mutilator as the Evil Conspiracy songs, and then you have Chacal. So it's a really crazy good record.
The
I think it's
compilations
very
are
rare.
yeah.
I think it's even back then. It took me a while. I had a very good contact in Brazil who was selling me his. It was a record dealer from Brazil, and even back then, this one was quite expensive. I'm not sure if it's still heavily wanted. I'm not sure a lot of people are looking for it, but definitely something to listen to. I would like that Grey Haze maybe, or I don't know, Nuclear Warner would do a release of this. This would be so nice. But probably hard to get any licensing. I don't know how it works with the licensing for Sepultura. I think it's become quite complicated with Metal Blade licensing them and then Cogumelo. So I'm not sure how it could work. But yeah, definitely.
So Mutilate. Probably read Sepultura often.
Probably, yeah, probably. But it's one of the best songs of the LP. Yeah. It's crazy good.
It would be a shame.
Good.
Yeah, I've never seen it. I've never seen it in the wild, but it's insane. Yeah.
It's very hard to get, indeed. Yeah.
I would nurturing a few contacts in Brazil, but it's hard.
Yeah, and I don't think this was pressed on many copies. I think I'm not sure why, because for instance, Warfare Noise 1, 2, 3, you can find them. This one has always been very hard to get. It was always a bit of a obscure. For me, it was like, yeah, this is the lost tape of Cogumelos. It says it all.
But it also seems, if you compare it to the Warfare Noise, like the covers and the way it is laid out, and this seems like a throwaway for them at the time, like just a compilation CD throw out or a promo, and of course that has the best renditions of the songs you're looking for, of course.
Yeah. Of course. Yeah, no, you're right. Probably right. They were probably selling much more copies of Morbid Visions or stuff like that than this compilation. Definitely.
100%. So
very good compilation. Another one I got a long time ago, which is very famous now, is Tormentor Anno Domini from Nocturnal Art Productions, which was the label of Samov, I think, from Emperor, and Head Not Found, which was the label of Metal Lion from Slayer magazine from Norway. This came out with a nice poster that you cannot see, but it's hung on the wall right there. I bought it from Nazeblot Records a long time ago. They had always crazy prices, but back then they were a mailing list, and they just listed stuff, and they only had those good old websites with no pop-ups, no nothing, just columns with 3 choices and then lists of things to read. Very convenient, no publicity, no advertising, no nothing. So this was very nice. You just browse through the names, no pictures, no nothing, just browsing through names. And this was for sale. I think I spent back then, I think 75 euro or something like that on it, which was a lot of money for teenage me. But once again, I've played this one so much. It's this 80s obscure band from Hungary that released almost second wave black metal album demo. I mean, it clicks all the boxes. Once again, then they were the Mayhem singer favorite band, and so they invite. It's surrounded by so much legend, and it's actually such a good record. The musicianship, the production, everything. I truly love this.
It's one of the nods between first wave and second wave that is truly still worthwhile checking out. Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, I think I discovered them because I don't know if you remember that CD that Fenris from Darkthrone released. That was like Fenris presents first wave of metal, something like that, with Bulldozer, with.
When he's starting to become a DJ.
Is something like that? Yeah, exactly. That was in between becoming a internet radio DJ, something like that. And this was it came with a lot of good stuff. And I think Tormentor I discovered on that one. I would think so, or maybe through Mayhem or something like that. But
I love his podcast. I follow it, but it's just like he plays the tracks.
Yeah.
And then he just talks in Norwegian for like half an hour and then plays another track. It's like,
nice.
Never skipped so hard in a podcast. It's just useless. Yeah. Fenris.
Yeah, absolutely. Quite a character. Another one I wanted to show off, yes, which is exactly the proper term. This one is a bit easier to find. This is Abhorror and Necrophile.
Oh, the split.
So this was bands from the most famous band from Singapore.
Mm-hmm.
Amazing band, splitted with Necrophile from Japan. And this was released by Decapitated Records from Greece, who would then become Unisound Records, which is quite famous for releasing quite a lot of bands. Tawart Lord, Mortuary Drape, that very Mediterranean sound. That was Unisound Records, and they were called Decapitated Records. And it's crazy.
What year are we talking?
I think 1991, I think.
Yeah.
So this is one of their few releases. They also did Passage to Arcturo under that name. First Rotting Christ MLP, and they might have done a few other, maybe the Monumentum, or was that Obscure Plasma?
Before
very few releases before changing the name. And once again, it's 1991. You have Swedish death, you have American death metal, you have skateboard trash, you have new metal, and then you have this Greek label who puts out a crazy good band from Singapore and from Japan on a split LP. It comes out of nowhere. It's insanely good. It looks really harsh. It sounds really harsh. Once again,
I think my like I said earlier, that Brazil is the be all end all of black metal. I think the Singapore and the South, that region, like this one.
Yeah, absolutely. Like Asahi.
This was a gateway for me to discover that, that part of the world also has insanely good black metal.
Insanely good bands. Yeah, exactly. Comes out as quite a surprise. I mean, out of all places. Yeah. Okay,
that's maybe the next territory for me to really sink my teeth in.
Good. Yeah. You are up for a treat, sir. Yeah, a lot of good stuff. Muslims country out of all places, once again, because Brazil was very free-spirited, very anti-Christian, because church and state were very intertwined. But in Malaysia, you had Sharia law, a very special one. But a big history of heavy metal over there as well, with something you could not imagine here. Muslim woman rock star, stuff like that, which is not something that you would find on TV here. So once again, totally different culture with a totally different counterculture. So very fascinating, very fascinating.
Hard repression makes for hard music.
Maybe so, yeah, maybe so.
I think so. You have one more for us, or two more? I don't know.
I think I have two more. Yes, if we have time.
Perfect. We have.
Okay, cool. This is has become a bit more famous these days. This is Ungod and the fantastic album Circle of the Seven Infernal Pacts. which was released in 1993. This is probably the first German black metal album, I would say, from the second wave. I think that's
maybe.
the first to be out on records. I could be wrong, because there's also Martyrium, there's also Eminence, there's a bunch, but I think this one was one of the first sort of pre-Norwegian, once again, black metal bands. Unique sounds. This was released by the label is called Heretic Supremacy Brotherhood Records, which just sounds fantastic. Sounds so fantastic. This was the records label from I think the guy from Bestial Summoning, I think.
Okay.
I think they did this, and also Order from Chaos on CD, and also Abigail 7-inch, and that was it for the band. Yeah, exactly, something like that. Fantastic records, once again, sounds like nothing else, has these very eerie vocals, very unique sounding, and not much talked about still to this day, maybe a bit more recognized because they reformed. And
the Baksaksaksa.
Yeah, exactly. They had that split with Baksaksaksa released by Merciless Records, I think, in the 90s. Obscure bands, great sounds, great pictures. What more can we say? It's very, very, very good. Hopefully, you can still find that at an affordable price. I'm not so sure. I've had this for.
It won't be too cheap, I think.
Sorry?
It won't be cheap.
I won't be cheap, unfortunately. What is these days, indeed? Yeah.
Try to find a Tormentor for 75 euros. I dare you.
I don't think that much I can imagine. It's not the case anymore. Yeah. But Ungod, if you find it, get it. Definitely interesting records. Sounds different, and that's what I crave for. Yeah.
Yeah.
And last but not least, this is one you know about. This is Poison Into the Abyss. This is so fantastic.
This is my number one want list item.
Okay, here it is, sir. Released by a Belgian label.
Add to Injury, released by a Belgian label. It's unfindable.
Absolutely.
I almost pulled the trigger at 300 euros, but I thought I will find it in the wild. There's this one Greek seller on Instagram, on Discogs, who had it, and I was putting together a package for a lot more than 300 euros, and they sold it the day before I pulled the trigger. So
too bad.
Yeah, too bad, but it would be another benchmark to.
Yeah, actually, it's quite a price indeed. Yeah, indeed.
I will find it one day at a flea market.
Yeah, sure. That's best of luck to you. Absolutely.
Thank you, Peter. No, that is that's a true anomaly in the entire black trash, whatever you want to call it. They always speak about the Teutonic Four, the German black trash four, and the fact that is not in there. It's quite a crime.
Yeah, such a killer record. I mean, four songs, especially when you listen to the demos, which are very harsh stuff before, and then they come up, go 10 hours in the studio, they come out with that, then they blow into obscurity. Then it's re-released in the 90s by this already old school in the 90s somehow, it's crazy. Median Creation by Wim Bailus, who also produced the first Ancient Rites, Satanas, Reaping Evil, some few releases, but all very good.
Very interesting person.
Have you ever met him, actually?
No.
There's quite a legendary character.
I'm not that deep into black metal, actually. I'm still regressing, I was.
Very good way of putting it. Yeah, I don't think he's around anymore, because I was at the Sabbath gig the other day in East, and he was not there, and I think it's very close to his home, from the region he comes from. But
if you ever come to these regions again, let me know, so we can.
Sure.
I mean, that's like a bike ride away.
Nice.
Yeah.
Actually, it's very nice to be there and to see Sabbath, which is always nice.
Yeah, as always, we were away for the weekend. So.
Okay, of course. So Poison, once again, indeed has become quite hard to get. But once again, if you are just interested in the music, which is a very rational way of approaching things, this is now available in so many formats. I think CDs, re-release, compilation, standalone, everything. I think.
Bout just announced that they are re-releasing two of the demo materials or the EP materials on Glorious Vinyl, so they are steadily rolling out the entire.
Nice. That's so nice.
But it's one of the I have the collection bleeds the original.
Yeah, of course,
so
need it. Yes.
one day. Okay, well, that's a very nice closure. I guess full circle from the shirt to the records.
Yeah.
Tawfik, thank you very much for this. I always gun for the hour. We almost made it to the 2-hour mark, so that's beyond expectation. Thank you very much. Thank you for all the work you're putting in for the zines, the books, the records. It's all amazing, and I for myself can wait to see what's next. So
thank you so much.
We had a few teasers and a few spoilers here and there if you kept an ear to the interview. So good things to come. Thank you very much, and
Thank you.
sometimes maybe we'll do a part 2 when there's more to talk about.
It would be my pleasure. Thank you so much for the support.
Thank you, my Belgian friends. Talk soon.
Talk soon. Ciao.